And we are live. Welcome, Mystery and Thriller fans. I'm your on-air host, Sara DiVello, and I am so excited to welcome to the show tonight Eliza Jane Brazier, here to give us the inside scoop on Good Rich People, which is a most anticipated book by everybody and their brother and their sister and their next door neighbor. Oh my God, this book is blowing up and it is oh so good. Eliza, welcome to Mystery and Thriller Mavens. Tell us about Good Rich People.
Well, thank you first of all so much for having me, and I love the enthusiasm. It's awesome. So Good Rich People, it's, basically about this like sort of crazy rich couple who, like, as like most wealthy people are, they're super bored. And so they mess with people's lives for entertainment. And they basically like sort of like do this thing where they'll invite someone to come live in their guest house, like on this like sort of auspices that they're going to like help them access this like exclusive world, but really their intentions are far darker. So they invite someone to live in their guest house, but by a kind of weird accident, it ends up being somebody else, and they don't know that. And it's just like everyone is playing kind of this twisted game with each other that has explosive consequences. I feel like I'm trying to get like you excited.
You got to come in at a 10 and take it right up to a 15.
Yeah, I'm coming at a 10.
Oh my gosh. Well, I am so excited to get the scoop because you guys, this book is blowing up. Oh my God. So we're going to get into every delicious, dirty detail. But first, I just want to welcome everyone because we are streaming to 6 places tonight. If you're watching on Facebook, if you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching on my channels, Murder by the Book channels, Mystery and Thriller Mavens, private Facebook group, or Bitchy Bookworms, wherever you're tuning in from, you're in the right place. This is the right time. And if you've been here before, you know how this works. If you're new, oh my goodness, we're so happy you're here. Here's how it works. Every Monday for hashtag Mystery Monday, because Mondays can be murder, wink. I give you my hand-picked featured authors, and you get to ask them anything. So ask this amazing author about her writing process, about her deep, dark thoughts. How'd she come up with this crazy idea? Anyway, I know I need to know anything that you would like to know, because it is good. Margaret Pinard, welcome to the conversation, tuning in from Portland, Oregon. She says, yay, I am tuning in for the title already. It is provocative. Melissa Watson joining us from Australia. She says, hi there. Although I feel like, Melissa, if you're joining us from Australia, you might say good day. So that's my best Aussie and I suck. So sorry. Eliza, oh my goodness. Welcome, Julie. Welcome, Kathy. Welcome, Rebecca, Stacy, Gail, Julie, Patricia, Corte, Mara. Great to have you all with us. Okay, get the questions going in the comments. This is your time to ask Eliza anything. And while your fingers are flying over the keyboard, I'm going to kick off. I know I just need a minute or two. So I will fill this time while you're thinking and typing as fast as your little fingers can fly with some of the incredible, thanks for the hearts up, you guys. That is so lovely. This incredible praise. Okay, so A Good Morning America January book that can get us through anything, a most anticipated novel by, are you guys ready? Sit down, buckle up, and strap in because holy crap, this list is long. The New York Times, Good Housekeeping, Harper's Bazaar, Entertainment Weekly, The New York Post, PopSugar, Shondaland, Queen Shonda Rhimes herself, Yahoo, Crime Reads. Oh my God, it's going on and on. Thank you for all the hearts, you guys. Everybody is raving about this book. Everyone is talking about this book. So we have yet to get into the details. Melissa is saying, good day, mate. I lived in Brisbane. I should be able to do better than this. Catch a clue. I love your handle. She said, Eliza, welcome from southeastern Massachusetts from Wendy. Hey, Wendy.
Yeah, so I like to have animals here.
What's that?
I love all the animals and the little profile pics. I feel like I'm watched by a bunch of like cats and dogs.
Isn't that the best? I love that. I love seeing everybody's little fur babies. It's the best. And thank you for telling us you're joining us from southeastern Massachusetts, Wendy. Always a pleasure to have you here. So thank you. Hey, Melissa's saying that actually my Australian accent was pretty good. Maybe we should do this in accent. Eliza, what accent do you want to do?
I mean, I lived in London for 10 years, but I feel like when I actually try to do it, I can't. And then when I don't intend to, I do. So
Okay, so stay American and maybe you'll go British.
Yeah, probably. Like make me angry or, you know, passionate, and I'll sound like I'm like an Irish North London. I don't know. It's just this horrible mix.
Oh my gosh. Eliza, let's talk about some of this praise that this book is earning because holy Toledo, you are blowing up. So PopSugar calls this is raving about the jaw-dropping twist right out of the gate. So let's talk about the delicious twists. When you sit down to write, are you a Jeffrey Deaver? Do you spend 6 months of vigorously plotting as you're planning it out? He writes 180 pages. He spends 6 to 8 months just doing the plot. Then he fills it in. Are you a pantser? Do you go where the story flows? What's your process? How did you do these twists?
I feel like my process is just like really bad and I need to work on it.
Like,
I get very like I'm very obsessive, which is probably like part of the reason why I'm a writer. Like once I just start doing something, it's like I can't really stop. So I will just like steam through like a first draft without really like a plan. Like maybe I'll know kind of like the big plot points, but I get obsessive about hitting word count goals, which is bad. I need to like learn to not do this because it's like I'll just keep going even when I'm kind of lost. And then I end up having to like rewrite the book like multiple times. It's like terrible. Like I rewrote this book like 3 times, like completely rewrote. Like this version that got published, like I wrote in like I think like 4 weeks because we were getting to the deadline and I didn't like what I had written and I completely changed the whole thing and just like went like, ugh. So it's just a really bad process. And I don't ever find anyone who has the same process. And I'm like, what is wrong with me?
I am fascinated. I need to know more about this very bad, terrible process that you have. So when you say you completely rewrote it, I mean, are you talking about the fact these people weren't rich? They didn't have a guest house? Like,
okay, it was supposed to be about, you know, someone was rich and somebody was not, but there was no game element. I think that was like the biggest change. And also the characters were completely different. Like they were, I mean, probably Demi mostly stayed the same, but like Graham and Margot and all that, like I really like basically I took what I had before and I just like turned it like way, way up and just made it like made it completely nuts because before it was kind of like I don't know, it just felt kind of like unfocused and it kind of just wasn't, I don't know. I really just wanted to go crazy with it. I think I wanted to like really push it out a little bit more. Yeah. But originally it was like a lot more low key.
Did you, Eliza, was that based on feedback that you received from a writing partner, from your agent, from your editor? Are they like, Eliza, snooze, you need to crank up a little? Or were you like, no, I don't like this?
It was, I mean, it wasn't like, I don't think that it wasn't like that my editor like didn't like it. Like she definitely was giving me kind of like more broad notes, but she wasn't like telling me to completely change it. It was honestly, I felt like I wasn't liking it. So I kind of said to her when we got like sort of close to what would be kind of like the contract deadline, I had this idea for changing and I just like pitched it to her and she was like on board. And so then I rewrote it. I mean, like, I don't know. It's hard to say, I guess, what somebody, because like obviously she was giving me editorial letters with like feedback, but it wasn't like completely throw everything out. You know what I mean? So I don't know. That was kind of my decision.
As soon as I heard rich people with a guest house, I immediately flashed back to O.J. Simpson and Kato Kalin because the most infamous and famous house ghost ever who, you know, just hanging out in OJ's guest house for untold amounts of months. And then, of course, the key witness in a murder trial. Let's talk about your guest house inspo. Why a guest? I mean, how did you come up with this crazy idea?
Well, first of all, my grandfather used to live in Brentwood. So he actually lived right around the corner from OJ. And during the trial, we saw him at Carl's Jr.
What?
Yes.
You saw OJ at Carl's Jr.? Yeah. What, just getting a burger?
I was a young kid. Yeah. No, I guess, yeah, getting a burger. I actually didn't see him. My family did. I was like around. I didn't get a visual, but it's a famous story in my family.
Oh my God, that's crazy. Your grandfather lived around the corner from OJ at the time of his murder trial.
Yeah. Yeah.
So where did you
get? Side note. Now about the guest house. So So actually, when I wrote this book, I was living in the Hollywood Hills, and I was living in a duplex. And so the upstairs part was like this beautiful, lovely kind of, probably a place you'd want to live, right? It was in Beechwood Canyon. And where I lived was like underneath the main house, and it was kind of like holding the main house up. And it was like built into the side of like the mountain, kind of as like, how homes are in LA, like where it's like they're building on a precipice. And it was like surrounded by trees, like super duper dark. So like originally it was a duplex, and then I changed it to a guest house because I was like, these people are too rich. They're not going to live in a duplex. You know what I mean? So yeah.
So you were like, wait, I need to think bigger. I need to think richer. I need to think OJ. I need to think. Oh my God.
I didn't go quite that far, but.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So you're living in the duplex carved into a hill, and you just sitting there having your morning coffee, and bam, you thought, what if I wrote about this rich, crazy couple? I mean, take us back to the inciting moment. Thanks for the hearts up in Facebook.
I mean, so I guess the thing is, I always wanted to kind of, not like always wanted to, but when I lived in London, I actually lived below the poverty line for 7 years, the whole time I was there, basically. And like pretty extreme, I would say. Like, I'm not going to like go into like, I guess, details, but like, yeah, so pretty extreme circumstances. And during that time, my late husband was a musician. So he would sometimes go and play like gigs, or he would even have like friends and stuff like that who were extremely wealthy. And like we would go to like these houses that like I would walk into like the front door, and it would be like the lobby of a Vegas hotel. Like it was just insane. Or like, just like ones that had like so much like fine art on the wall that it was like layered, like it's just like madness. So I think that kind of gave me like the germ of just wanting to talk about, just like income disparity, like that, how crazy this world is. And like that, and when those two kind of, I guess, extremes come together, like I kind of had that desire to write something like that. But I think it took quite a long time to sort of process it enough. I think that when you go through like experience where you don't have money, you're put in like a lot of really traumatizing situations, and you don't really realize what the cause is until, much later. So it did probably take quite a while before I could approach it as a story. And then at that time, when I was living in Hollywood, it was like 2020. So Parasite had just won all these Oscars. So that kind of made the idea like palatable and marketable, right? So I pitched it to my editor. Like, funnily enough, I wanted to write a completely different book, but she was like, no. So then she kind of picked this one. But it was an opportunity for me to talk about just a lot of things that are super important to me, to be honest. And then also to kind of like deal with a lot of like almost like residual like trauma from that life that I had lived, like the original. I think that was part of the reason too why the book wasn't working originally, because it's like, it was 2020, we were in lockdown. I was thinking about and like sort of exploring all of these things that I hadn't thought about in so long, and that are kind of like re-traumatizing to think about. You get like sucked into the past, and you kind of lose sight that you're writing a story. So it took me like multiple drafts, I think, to get to the point where it's like I could actually make it fun and entertaining. You know what I mean?
I totally know what you mean. I also grew up in incredible poverty. And I know exactly what you mean. And it does take many years in order to be able to work through the traumas that you actually don't realize are even traumas at the time, because it's just you trying to survive and get through the day or get through life. I mean, I grew up in a way that, books were luxuries. We couldn't buy books. We went to the library. And now, I'm able to buy books and very grateful for it. But at the time, you don't think about things like this. You just have your head down and trying to do that. And it was something I actually learned from Andrew Yang, was a 2020 presidential candidate, who said actually most Americans are one $400 unexpected bill away from financial ruin. And that might be a car repair, that might be a dentist, that might be a medical bill, it might be whatever it is, rent increase, but one $400 bill away from financial ruin. And the sobering fact of that is, when you sit with that, is something that is really a lot to absorb and very, very intense. So I appreciate, thank you for sharing the backstory that created your wanting to write about this in such a way.
I was going to say the literal same thing to you. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that, because I think that people don't really talk about it enough. And I think there's so many of us go through periods like that. And it's almost like you're embarrassed to talk about it, or you feel like you did something wrong. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because I think there's a lot of shame around it, even, and that's correlated with this wrong perception that you've done something wrong, or that you're lazy, or that you know, whatever it is. And actually, that's not the case for most people. Most people are working their tails off. But if you're only making minimum wage, you can be working 3 jobs and it's still going to be a struggle. And so this is an important and meaty topic that we're talking about. So thank you. Catherine Holm, welcome to the conversation. Thank you so much for joining us. It's always a pleasure to have you, ma'am. She's saying it is so easy to get that $400 hit. Exactly. You know, I accidentally hit myself in the eye with my mascara wand, and I had to go to the eye doctor. This is so silly, but I was in danger of getting an eye infection, and so I had to get this prescription to make sure that my eye didn't get infected. And when I went, the prescription was it was $75, and I said, "Oh, I have insurance," and she said, "Oh, that is with insurance. Without insurance, it's $400." And I thought, there's that $400. There's that $400 expense if I didn't have medical insurance.
Don't even get me started on the medical.
Oh, I do.
Like, I was luckily in England, so we had the NHS. If we didn't, like, I mean, my husband like passed away. I mean, I would, the amount of medical debt that I would be in if I had been in this country, it's like insane. You know, I mean, that's like, I mean, there's a huge benefit to not having money there, you know, because like our housing was paid for, like he got money from the government, you know?
Yeah, the National Health Service. I also lived in England, and it is the health services are way better there. Really good. Patricia, and I just want to say, actually, Eliza, I'm so sorry for the loss of your husband. That must be incredibly, incredibly hard. And thank you for sharing that with us. Melissa is saying, we have health, Medicare in Australia is such a help for people who need it. Absolutely. The health system in Australia is fantastic. Yeah. Catherine is saying she is so, so sorry for your loss, Eliza. Catherine, thank you. Patricia is saying, I am intrigued by this book. It has such great reviews from other authors I read. Yes, ma'am, it does. Patricia, thank you for saying that, because the list of authors that are singing the praises of this book go on and on. So let's start with Chandler Baker, who was on the show in August, right before she was I think she was the Reese Book Club pick of the month. And she raves that this is a novel that is equal parts edge of your seat suspenseful, bitingly funny. I love a funny book. Who else does? And wholly original. So a rave review from the incredible New York Times bestselling author Chandler Baker. Absolutely loved that. So, and it could go on, and I will. But first, I just want to get to other people because, okay. Oh my gosh. So many amazing questions. Christine is saying, I'm listening in the rain in my car while I pick up my son. I just got your book and I cannot wait to read it. Christine, let us know what you think about it, because I have a feeling you are going to love it. And I just want to remind everyone that we only have, a half an hour here, but we continue the conversation over in the Mystery and Thriller Mavens Facebook group, free and open to all. So feel free to join the group and we'll continue the conversation over there. So as you read it, you're probably going to want to chat about it because it is so good. So that is a great place for everyone who wants to continue the conversation. I popped that link in the comments. Okay. Melissa's saying, I guess you needed to get into the right headspace to write this book.
Yeah.
Eliza, yes. Do you care to respond? Any thoughts on that?
I mean, yeah, I like, sort of like I said, I think that when you're talking about, it's hard when you're an author because you need to, I'm sure you will understand this. It's like, you want to talk about stuff that's personal and important to you because that really shows through in the writing. And I think that's important. I think if you don't do that, then you won't be able to sell your book. But at the same time, it's also a business and you're like selling a product. So I think it's hard to kind of find that right balance between what's personal and important to you, but also what is like entertaining and fun to read, you know? Yeah. So absolutely. It's kind of, it takes time, you know, to be able to like get your head around something, to be able to like turn it into a story.
Well, clearly you have found that balance, because the rave reviews, oh my God, they just keep coming. So let's get into some of the questions, and then I also want to get into some of the into some of the more of the praise. And someone is saying, "Good day, ladies. I just want to make sure I'm so sorry. Facebook changed the privacy settings. So if you're watching in a private Facebook group, you have to click, that we can see your picture, or you can say mysterious, which is very on brand for mystery and thriller mavens, but saying happy Monday. Glad to be here for this interview. We're so glad to have you. Thank you. Let's talk about, Kathy would like to know, did your book ever take a darker turn than you intended? If so, did you just go with it or did you rein it in?
I feel like it almost went the opposite way. I feel like the original version was more dark. Like it was like, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I kind of, I approached it, the final draft, I kind of approached it as like a Black comedy. So like, I guess it just depends on how you're reading it. Cause like, while it is really dark in ways, I think because it almost feels satirical, it doesn't necessarily feel as dark as it would if I was like writing it like, oh, this is, real.
I love that. And yet Melissa's saying that that us readers, we can feel the sincerity of authors like you, writing from their heart, writing real, authentic stuff. And I totally agree, Melissa. Great point. I know I can feel that, Eliza. I'm sure you can feel that as well, as a reader and also as a writer. Catherine is saying this is such a great review. It sounds excellent. So I just want to remind everyone to grab your copy tonight. Grab your copy tonight, fam, because you are going to want to read Good Rich People. So I'm going to pop the link in the comments right now. So click over and support our favorite woman-owned independent bookstore, Murder by the Book. So good. So there's the link. Let me just keep scrolling down, make sure I'm not missing anybody's comments. Ooh, Catherine would like to know, did you do any research for the book? Did anything really surprise you? So let's start there. Let's talk about the research and then let's talk about the surprises.
I mean, I feel like a lot of it was just like from my own experiences. So like originally the book was actually called Beechwood Canyon and I was living in Beechwood Canyon. So I like used that as a setting, but eventually I changed the location because I was like, this family are now too rich to live in Beechwood Canyon. Cause like, although it's a very nice place, like it's kind of like has a little arts and craftsy, kind of cool vibe. I was like, they're too rich for this place. We need to move. So I took like a lot of that. And then I also I always try to take like little details from like real people. So like there's some characters in the book that are honestly based on like people that I know.
Could you give us a moment? What's a real life moment from this book without any spoilers?
Okay. So, well, gosh, I feel like I think of the worst thing. So there's this one character that is described as having these like collages that he like takes with him everywhere. And they're like little collages of like, I probably can't say this. They're very explicit collages. And this is based on a real person that I knew in London who like had these gross collages that he brought to our house and literally left at our house for like, and up until when my husband died, like I literally had to call someone to be like, can you pick these up? And I just wanted to throw them away. They were just sitting in like the corner of our, little apartment or whatever.
Wait,
like
what do
for years.
You mean sexually explicit?
Yeah,
Naked explicit?
yeah, exactly. Yes. Like they were like, yeah. And it was like, he thought it was his artwork. He called it his art. And it was just so gross. And I like turned them around. Oh man.
Oh my gosh. So he was like, this, Eliza, in a British accent, Eliza, this is my gift to you. These naked collages.
No, it wasn't a gift. We were keeping it for him because like he didn't want to like, I guess, carry it around. So like we were like storing it. It was like really important, I guess, because like I remember after my husband died, he like sent someone to pick them up because he thought it was like a work of art that he had created. Yeah. And he also was like he was like an award-winning artist, like he in other spheres. Like he wasn't like completely, but he was just a strange person. Actually, I took a lot of stuff from him. Like he used to just sit at our house and watch like Pixar movies, like one after the other, while he was like shooting up heroin. It was just a character.
Oh my goodness. And then making his explicit collages.
I never saw him make them. I think that, he had done like his greatest work and he was done. He was like, probably
he had done his greatest work. He could no longer create his explicit collages.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
He like reached the pinnacle for that one, I think.
So, okay. So now when we're reading it, everybody, when you get to the explicit collages, know that is drawn from real life. so now you will know. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Okay. I am loving this. Anything, let's get to Catherine's second half of her question. Did anything really surprise you? Yes. In the writing of this book and how the story evolved, anything surprising to you, Eliza?
I mean, I guess like everything. I think because I was writing it so fast, like I just kind of was just like, go with it. And I definitely I think it's important always to like let stories kind of surprise you and take you wherever you want to go. But I also think like when you're writing something super fast, you almost like can't, like you're not overthinking it anymore, right? You're just like letting it kind of go. And so I think that in that way, there was like a lot of surprises. And I was just like, I really hope that my editor is okay with this. Cause like also when you're writing that fast, you're like, you send it to your editor and you're like, I hope that makes sense. Like I literally don't know. Cause like you get to that point where your head is like scrambled. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And now when you sent the editor those moments where she was like, I'm sorry, your brain is scrambled. I don't know what you're talking about. Or was she like, this is brilliant. I get it.
I think that if I remember correctly, she like got back to me and was like, oh, there's a couple things, but she really liked it. I mean, it didn't change really from what, the third time. It didn't change.
Oh my Excellent. Oh my gosh. Okay. Catherine, thank you for the great question. Eliza, thank you for the answer. Christina Powers, welcome to the conversation. Bookstagrammar extraordinaire. She is a politically read girl over on Instagram. And she said, was the title the original or how did it evolve? So let's talk about the Beechwood Canyon to Good Rich People.
Yeah, so originally it was called Beechwood Canyon. Like I said, I moved them out of Beechwood Canyon. And also like, that's not really a good title. Like I think Beechwood Canyon is cool, but it's not really a good title. So I actually I'm part of like an authored, Discord chat for other Berkeley authors. And I actually put out on there, does anyone have any ideas for a title? And an author, I wish I had her book, Rachel Lynn Solomon, who wrote The X Talk and Weather Girl, right? She said, nice rich people. And I was like, ooh, I like that. But let's make it good rich people. Right. And I also like it because one of my favorite authors is Flannery O'Connor, and she wrote Good Country People, which is an awesome short story. So.
Excellent. Christina, thank you for the great question. And Eliza, thank you for for giving us that journey. Jay Robinson, welcome to the conversation. So great to have you here. Thank you for joining us as always. And Jay would like to know, out of the rich characters, is there a likable person? Is there any romance?
To be honest, I would say no, not this time. My next book has kind of a romance.
Do you feel like your characters are likable, Eliza?
You know what? I feel like it's such a weird, okay, this is going to make me sound, I don't know. There's such a big thing about how thrillers are with unlikable characters, but I just think that a lot of times they're just, I guess they're just flawed people like real people are. But also at the end of the day, if you're writing a thriller, a lot of people are murderers. So I think it's kind of guaranteed that you're not going to like them. I find the word unlikable characters, it's just so odd to me because I don't think there's ever a likable character in a thriller. Except for maybe I don't know, Clarice Starling or that kind of vibe, if it's just a nice detective. But I think when you're I don't know, when people are dying left, right, and center, it's I don't like them.
Right. Eliza's out there wielding a knife. She's like, I can't get. She's like, don't want to touch anyone. I might.
I don't like them.
But Jay actually raises a really great point when Kate White, who was the editor-in-chief of Cosmo for many years, now she's a thriller author. When she came on the show to talk about her book, The Fiancé, I actually asked her about sex scenes. And I said, listen, you worked at Cosmo. You got to know your way around a sex scene. I mean, right? Who better to write a sex scene than a Cosmo editor? And she said that actually when she started writing thrillers, she put a lot of sex in her book because she was coming from the Cosmo halls. But she found in her reviews that people were like, too much sex, that thriller readers actually don't like the explicit collages, I mean sex scenes. And so she had to pull it back. And so she was reading her reviews and she took that into account and she stopped writing sex scenes. So it's so interesting to me that the thriller readers among us don't seem to like it. And I wonder why that is. And the romance readers sure do. So very, very interesting conversation. Eliza, any thoughts on that? What do you want to write a sex scene? Do you want to avoid it?
I think it depends. I mean, to be fair, I think there are like, I would call it closed door. There's like closed door sex scenes in this book. If I Disappear, there was kind of a sex scene. My next book, I think it's going to be more like a woman's fiction with mystery, and that has like a really explicit sex scene that might not really explicit, but like is it's like open door. And my editor said she said it was hot with the winky face. So
wait, who said it was hot with a winky face?
Editor.
So she said it's hot.
And I don't want people to know that. Well, yeah, she said it in like she wrote it.
Is your sex scene is your sex scene as explicit as the collages, Eliza?
Do you know what? To be honest, like I grew up writing fan fiction, and like in fan fiction, there's a lot of pressure. Like when I was like younger, to like have those kinds of scenes. So like I would always like originally that's like. I mean, I think that my sex scenes were not like very realistic. They were usually like a lot of like build up and then like really quickly over. But I definitely like grew up like writing a ton of sex scenes, to be fair.
Woo. What exactly is fan fiction? Am I the only one who doesn't know?
Are you lying? Are you serious? Fan fiction?
I know, I hear that term, but I don't really know what that is. But I've been too embarrassed to ask, and now I feel worse.
Like where like fans sort of like will like kind of work or rewrite like a story, like almost as like sometimes as original fiction or sometimes like within canon. So it's like if I was going to write fan fiction of this, I might take two characters and I could write them in this world, or I might possibly write them in a completely different world. Like, so for example, 50 Shades of Grey is famously Twilight fan fiction. The book, The Love Hypothesis, that came out this year is actually Star Wars fan fiction.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Like a lot of huge books. I mean, it's like a huge community. Even like some authors who are like published and successful and everything, not that that has anything to do with it, but like they'll still write fan fiction for fun, like under like different names or just even under their own name.
Interesting. Interesting.
A lot of like Newsies fan fiction. I was like,
Susan is saying murder and thrillers want thrills of a different kind. I see what you did there, Susan. Mic drop moment from Susan. Bazam. I love it. I love it. Susan, you're hilarious. That is so true. Christina's saying like Twilight or Harry Potter are popular. People write Harry Potter fan fiction. I did not know that. She's saying,
books were Harry Potter fan fiction. The like
what is?
Cassandra Clare, the YA author that's like huge.
No, I don't know.
Started out as Harry Potter fan fiction. Like a ton of like really huge traditionally published books started that way. It's like a massive trend.
I did not know this, man. I was see, I was too embarrassed to ask Eliza because I thought, oh God, I'm the only one who doesn't know this. And now you've confirmed it.
Now, if you really like a show, you could even write some if you want,
Oh my gosh. Okay. That's a whole different way of thinking. I'm going to have to give that some thought. Whoops, did not mean to that. So we are getting a little bit spam. I'm going to put that person, I'm going to block that person. Christina says, I've learned a lot from my tween. Okay. See, I need a tween to keep me cool. Maybe I can borrow yours, Christina.
It's been around for, I'm pretty old. I'm pretty old. Like it's been around a long time, ever since the beginning of the internet, man.
So speaking of other books, let's segue from fan fiction. What books are you reading and loving, Eliza?
Okay, so I have like a couple. Some of them are like so. This is a TBR. So this is
Ooh.
Elle Costamana, who's an author like I know from like my previous life in YA. And this book is doing really well, and I'm super excited to read it. And the sequel comes out tomorrow.
Ooh. Okay, cool. So I have not read that yet, but I love the cover. So Finley Donovan is killing it. Okay, cool. I am going to pop the link into the comments. So Finley Donovan is killing it is a recommendation from Eliza Jane Brazier. What else is she reading? Okay, Dial A for Aunties.
This is awesome, and this is an author, Jessie Cusutanto, who she's like amazing. So she's actually going to write. She's writing, or she already wrote a thriller, which will come out I think next year. But she like last year debuted in middle grade, young adult, and adult. This book has done phenomenally well, and it's a series. So the second book, I think it's Four Aunties and a Wedding, comes out in a few months, and this is just really fun. It's like it's just like it's a super like cute, fun premise, and it's like a kind of almost like it's like a cozy, like good sense of humor, really like rom-com cozy, let's call it.
Yeah, rom-com cozy. Okay, everybody. So Dial A for Aunties. Ooh, Christina Powers is saying that the audiobooks are awesomeness. Yay.
I honestly like anything that she writes. She's brilliant. I mean, I adore her.
Oh my gosh, Christina, thanks for letting us know. Okay, what else are you reading and loving lately, Eliza Jane Brazier?
The Husbands by Chandler Baker. Like, what a cool premise and what a fun book. And it has been optioned to Hollywood, and she's writing the script. So that is something to look forward to as well.
Ooh, let me put that in the comments too. Okay, so The Husbands, a novel by Chandler Baker. Chandler Baker. Okay, I'm putting it right in here. So y'all, I want to remind you that you had first dibs on Chandler Baker just this summer. So I'm popping that link in the comments. If you missed it, grab it now. Okay, what is this next deliciousness you're holding?
Okay, so I just got this arc, and it's coming out, I think, in May, or it's coming out soon this year. Let me see, it might say on here. Yes, and it is called Killing Time. It's actually it's YA, but I feel like YA and adult, like, what's the difference? Nothing. So Brenna Ehrlich, and she is the news editor at Rolling Stone, and this is like a podcast book, and it looks like it's, a young girl, like her family, all that kind of fun stuff, but also there's a podcast and a mystery. So I'm getting like super good reviews, and it seems like a very layered and rich story.
Ooh, okay. Well, I want to tell you guys, Killing Time by Brenna Ehrlich. So I cannot wait. So Brenna is coming on the show the night before the book comes out, and it looks so good. I couldn't wait to get it scheduled. So we will be diving into that book too. So stay tuned, y'all. Stay tuned. Christina's saying YA has become super fun. I also highly recommend Courtney Summers.
Actually, Courtney Summers blurbed this book because she wrote Sadie, which is another YA with a true crime element.
Why, yes, she did. And I'm just seeing right here on the Murder by the Book website, Courtney Summers said that Killing Time is an exciting and whip smart mystery. Keep your eyes on Ehrlich. So I cannot wait. So I'm going to pop that right there. Thank you all for putting these on my radar. I can't wait. Let's get Christina saying, ha ha ha. Yes, Eliza. Yay. Okay, perfect. Let's get back to some of the amazing praise that your book has earned. So Good Housekeeping raved that the rich live differently than the rest of us. And that's never more evident than this chilling account of one family that plays a sick and twisted game with their tenants in the guest house we now know. So that is from Good Housekeeping. I loved that review. Kirsten White, New York Times bestselling author of And I Darken, raved that this is wickedly sharp, deviously hilarious, and flawlessly executed. So many of your reviews rave about your sense of humor, Eliza. Now, I know I love to laugh. Who doesn't? But it's actually very hard to be funny on the page because you can't hear intonation, you can't hear sarcasm, you can't see my fabulous funny hand gestures. So what do you think the key to being funny on the page is?
Oh my gosh, you know what? I think you're 100% right. And I never really thought of it that way. But I think with this book, like that's one of the things that's because like I wrote it as a Black comedy, but like you could probably like someone might read it, like not realizing that and just think, oh my gosh, these people are so horrible. So I don't know. I think it just really it depends on like your sense of humor because I get such like different responses. Like some people love it and really get that that was my intention, and other people are just like, oh my gosh, what on earth?
Do you think that the people who are saying what on earth, they're just not getting their sense of humor?
Well, they know they might not get my sense of humor. I don't know. They might not get what I was going for.
Okay. So when you're reading it, are you kind of cracking yourself up? Are you like, or when it's
Oh my
funny?
God, yes, there's like things that still make me laugh. I don't know. I think it's like, and also like because I lived in England for so long, they have like a kind of different sense of humor. But yeah, no, I love like that kind of like, I don't know, just like caustic wit. I don't know. What is that? I don't even know what that is.
I love British sense of humor. I think they're very funny. Amy Gentry, who was also on the show, they awarded you another rave review, and she said that this is the most vicious thrill ride she's been on in years. A satirical, dead-eyed look at class and money in a world frighteningly like ours, but with just enough askew to feel deeply unsettling. Rave review there from Amy Gentry. Congratulations, Eliza. I loved that one as well. You got a star review from Publishers Weekly who called you fiendish. Have you been called fiendish before? And what did you think of that?
I don't think that I have been called fiendish. One thing I will say though, the cool thing about Amy Gentry is that like I didn't actually like approach her to blurb or anything. She just like wrote that on Instagram and we were like, oh my gosh, I was like, I couldn't believe it because obviously she's amazing. So then like my editor and everything were like, oh yeah, we use this as a blurb, So it's just like cool because I've never gotten a blurb that I didn't ask for.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Right?
That is amazing. Let's take a look at the Publishers Weekly review. Again, calling you fiendish. Catherine is saying congratulations on the star review. Exactly, because it's not easy to earn a starred review. Like that takes real hard work, real hustle. Yay. Was there a review that meant the most to you where you're like, at last I have arrived, or they just all
Oh gosh, I don't think that way really. I love when, honestly, it's like, it's so fun. Like even like today, it's like when you get like people who just like are enthusiastic and like bubbling over with like glee. Like I think it's such like a hard time right now. Like I just want people to like be happy. So like I love when people are just like have that kind of like bubbling over, like, oh, I loved it. And then I like say to them, oh, thank you. And thank you for sharing. And they're like, no, it's just like so sweet. You know what I mean? Like, I just love that kind of vibe. So that's like my favorite thing. Just like the average, person.
the average person who's wildly entertained by your books. All right, everybody, we have 3 minutes left, and this is Eliza Jane Brazier's last event for this book. So if you got any questions, get them going in now. Speak now or forever hold your peace, because she ain't doing no more events. So get your questions going. We have 3 minutes. That should give us time to answer at least 2 to 3 more questions, so get them going. Connection. Catherine's saying connection is always good, especially now. Exactly, because there has been an increase of reading during the pandemic, especially in our favorite genre, mystery and thrillers.
What? I didn't know that.
Yeah, people
I have no excuses now.
I think people are seeking, to Catherine's point, connection. I think people are seeking certainty. They want to know that there's something that they can count on because there is so much uncertainty in the world right now.
Yeah.
I love that. Ellery Lloyd raved that this is taut, killing, and completely original. It's hard to come up with a completely original idea. So many times you're like, oh, I feel like I kind of read something similar to this. Do you feel the pressure to come up with, not about your book, I'm saying other books, you're like, oh, this is my 5th cheating husband book this week. Jed, oh my gosh. Jedi is saying, may the force be with you. Thank you. Meticulously plotted and masterfully executed, this story delivers on all its promises. Brazier's voice is killer. Justin Reynolds, authors of Opposites of Always. Eliza, what do you Jay, sorry I missed you. She said, please talk about the cover with the missing heads. Let's talk about the cover with the missing heads.
Good questions. Yeah, so I mean, basically my, the team at Berkeley came up with that, but it actually was not the original cover. It was a completely different cover, which to be honest, I really didn't like, but I'm sure it was great. Like, it's just like, sometimes you have covers where you just have like a visceral reaction against. So like we asked if they would be willing to like try different options, and like fortunately they were, and that was one of the ones that they gave us. And I think it's really cool. I love like the colors on it too. Like, it's so pretty.
It's so pretty. And I've heard when I've been posting about this event, the thing that people said the most was about the cover. They were just so intrigued by the cover. Christina Cook, who's the founder of Bitchy Bookworms, the hottest book group on Facebook with 83,000 members. When I posted about it, she said, "Oh my God, I love the cover," which is just so cool. What didn't you like about the first cover? And did they take that into? Did they really hear you?
I mean, I feel like, this is going to be really funny because like they did hear me, because the original cover showed faces of people that I felt like were just not the characters at all. And they were doing something that I did not think the characters would ever do. And usually I try not to, because I know a cover, it's not supposed to be a literal representation of the book. But I just think that sometimes when you see like these faces and they're kind of wrong, and it's like, for me, if I see a book with a face on the cover, I read that book with that face in my mind and I can't get it out. So I really just didn't want it. So like the funny thing is they literally so responded in that they just showed me people with no heads.
Oh, that's fascinating. Yes, because that is a problem, because we all feel that. I mean, Jay, I'm sure you feel that. I feel that. We all feel that, right? When we're reading, we have very specific ideas of what these people should look like. And if the people on the cover don't look like that, it's really, really upsetting, right? Because you're like, that's not what that person looks like.
Yeah. Or it's like, I don't want to read about this person. Like they were lovely people, I'm sure, in real life. But yeah, they weren't like, they didn't match what I kind of, the vibe
that we have in our heads. Exactly. I want to remind y'all, the book just came out last Tuesday. It's only been out for 6 days. Grab your copy now. I'm popping the link in the comments. Catherine would like to know, what brought you to writing? Great question. And what is your favorite part of the process?
I mean, to be honest, I think probably reading. Like, I've always been like a reader, like ever since I was little, like yourself. Like, I'd go to the library and I'd get like the biggest, like as many books as I could like carry. And then I would literally sit, like I used to sit next to like this lamp in my room on top of like the, I can't even think what it's called, cupboard, whatever. And I would read just like one book after the other. Like, I would literally like finish a book and read another one. And so I think that it's kind of like a natural progression from being a reader to being a writer, because it's like you want to like make your own books, or you have a story that you can't find anywhere. And you're like, I really want to read this story, or I wish this book was different in this way, And so it's like you start coming up with your own stories. So I think I've always kind of been like a storyteller. It just took a really long time, I think, for me to like actually try to do it, because I think before the internet, this industry was so inaccessible and it was so confusing. No one knew. And even still, I mean, a lot of people don't know. They don't understand, how do people get published? Like, how do you do it? So yeah, it took me probably until my 30s that I was like, okay, now I can figure it out.
Exactly. And I think that's also a point of access for, I think that's also class, socioeconomic class plays a part in that. I think having that information, I also didn't have that information. I had no idea how those books got on the shelves at the library, or how one could possibly hope to be one of them. So it is interesting that's interesting to think about. I thought it was just me who didn't know. Thank you for that, Eliza. Let's get to the second part of Catherine's question. What is your favorite part of the process?
Oh my gosh. Okay. My favorite part this is maybe not what she might've meant, the writing process. My favorite part of the writing process would be drafting. My favorite part of the whole process, though, is when you get to talk to, like, if you get a film option or a TV option and you get to talk to all different production companies. That's super fun, because it's like, you get to hear kind of like how they would reimagine your book. And it's just like, it's very exciting and interesting, and I don't know, it's cool to like, when people get excited about your story and like come up with like alternative visions, or just like imagining it as a movie or like a TV show. It's like so cool, right?
It's so cool. But do you ever feel scared at the loss of creative control? Do you ever think, Mom, that's not how it would be. Like, that's not how the house would look. Or if they say, let's move it to New York. Let's not have it in LA. What?
Yeah.
You
I
know?
mean, honestly, I think it depends on the story, but I've always like so far I've like negotiated to be involved in the process. So like as like an executive producer and a writer and stuff like that. But I definitely like I think it's fun to be flexible. I think you just have to be careful that you're not so flexible that not that you lose your story, but that you lose any story. You know what I mean? Like there has to still you still have to find like a heart of something. It can't just be like, oh, we're gonna do this or like put it here or set it, whatever it is. It's like you still have to make sure that you keep like that like heart. So it is kind of hard. I mean, there's a lot of different voices and like people that you're working with. But like I totally I think it's an opportunity. I see it as an opportunity to make it better because I think, you write as well and you publish books and like I think sometimes you like look back and go, why did I do that way? I should have done it this way. Or this would have been so much stronger if I had rewritten that scene. And so for me, it's like, oh, here's a chance like to learn and to make this stronger, and more depth and more, humor, and thrills, and obviously sex. No, just kidding.
Explicit collages.
Yeah,
Yeah.
more collage.
Hashtag more collage. Oh my gosh. Catherine is saying this has been a wonderful interview. Thank you both for being so forthcoming and fun. I'll definitely be reading the book. Oh, Catherine, what a joy to have you as always. Thank you so much for joining us. And again, I want to remind y'all to grab your copy tonight. Shop local. Tragically, one independent bookstore a week has gone out of business as the pandemic has descended. If we want to have bookstores to shop, you gotta buy from independent bookstores, and tonight you can. So grab your copy. Here is the link. Right in the comments, and then join the Mystery and Thriller Mavens Facebook group to continue the conversation because that's where all the good, juicy stuff goes down. Eliza Jane Brazier, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Mystery and Thriller Fam, thank you for tuning in. Y'all are amazing. I love our Monday night chats, and I will see you next Monday for hashtag Mystery Monday because Mondays can be murder.
Thank you.